home. Just wanna go home, back home. I've been gone for way too home.
Welcome to Make Space, a home design show that empowers you to create spaces you're obsessed with. Tune in for conversations that dive deeper than pin-worthy rooms. Host Cara Newhart teases out the essentials of designing spaces that inspire happiness and serve your everyday life. Cara has been featured in House Beautiful, Apartment Therapy, NBC News, and Insider, and has collaborated with brands like Home Depot, Wayfair, World Market, and more. Here's your host, Cara Newhart.
Hey, it's Cara Newhart, and I'm on a mission to help you find your style, learn to tackle home design without intimidation, and unlock the confidence to transform your spaces. On the show today, I'm sitting down with Carrie Leskowitz. Carrie is an interior designer who's focused on taking a very deep and holistic approach to home design. She just wrote a book called Om for the Home, which is a holistic approach to interior design for your overall well-being, body, mind, and spirit. We have an amazing conversation about how our homes should be more than just the place we live, and some tips and tricks that can get you there. I am beyond excited to have Carrie on the show today, and I think it's a really important conversation for those of us who are looking to get more out of our spaces and truly create a home that serves our everyday life. Let's dive into this interview. Okay, everyone, welcome back to Make Space. Today, I'm so excited to be sitting down with Carrie Leskowitz. We have an amazing conversation, or amazing topic to discuss, all about holistic design and how to design your space to serve you as a full person. So welcome, Carrie. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Cara. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So you're an interior designer and author who's really focused on taking a very deep and holistic approach to home design. So can we just start out by diving into your journey a little bit and hearing a bit about how you kind of made your way into the home design world?
Sure. Let's go back. I started out really in college in psychology.
Okay.
And then I segued into fashion, and I did fashion show production and fashion coordinating for many years. Loved it. And I was going to create my own production company when I got pregnant with my first son.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't commit to that. So I started doing styling, and I did, I'm in Philadelphia. So I did styling for local photographers and some video stuff, catalogs, and TV commercials, a little.
Mm-hmm.
And slowly all the work started going to New York, and things were kind of closing up in Philly, and everyone was moving to the city. And with two young sons now, I couldn't do that.
Right.
So my mother was an interior designer.
Okay.
So I went into business with my mother, and eventually she just decided it was no longer for her.
Mm.
So I kept going, and I did that for many years, loved it, still love it. And I was raising my sons, and I was in a home in a development that my husband had purchased for us. And I was feeling like I wanted to make a move, but circumstances were not aligned that I could really do that.
Mm.
And I got a divorce, and not for that reason.
Yeah.
And I remarried. I'm really trying to make a long story short.
Yeah.
And my second husband, my present husband, moved into this home. So it developed my sort of feeling of stuckness really grew and grew. I was in this same home. It's now 36 years.
Yeah.
And my present husband is a physician in the area. So he needed to, stay in the area.
Mm-hmm.
And I just was feeling really stuck. So I decided, while I was still doing interior design, but wanting to fix my problem, I decided to become a life coach.
Okay.
Because I kept saying, I want tools. I need to retrain my brain. If I can't control the situation, I have to control the way I think about the situation.
Yeah.
So I became a life coach, and armed with that education, I now had a language when I went into my clients' homes And I always kind of saw that there was a correlation between, maybe clutter and drama or um, toxic relationships and the condition of their home. But I didn't really have a language to talk about it and understand it on a deeper level as I did once I became a life coach. So I took that education and I started just making my clients aware, I'm seeing that you're struggling in this area in your life. And, it's interesting that we're also having trouble making decisions in this area. There's always, I saw that there always seemed to be a correlation, whether they couldn't make a decision, whether there was an area of dissatisfaction in their home, our inner world mirrors our outer world and vice versa. So when you are an interior designer, you do work closely with people and you do get to know them intimately.
Yeah.
So it was easy for me to then point out things that I was seeing.
Right.
Would you like an example?
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question is that, if your inner state is reflecting in your outer world, like does a messy house really mean your inner world is a little chaotic, or what are those tangible things that
in
kind
my
of
experience, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a holistic interior designer, which is what I became once I had the life coaching component in place, I really believe that your home is another pillar of wellness. And you can't have wonderful health if your home is a mess.
Right.
And you can't have a clean home if you have inner turmoil in your mind. So everything is connected.
Yeah.
So to make it clearer, one of the case studies in my book, Om for the Home, I have several case studies to make a lot of this clearer and more concrete.
Yeah.
I was working with a woman and she had 3 children and she had a playroom. And, the playroom is a mess, as all playrooms are.
Yeah.
But this playroom was kind of off the kitchen and before the living room. So you almost had to walk through it to get to every other part of the house.
Right.
And so she wanted more organization. It was, a mess, and it was functioning as a playroom and a TV room and an arts and crafts room and a catch-all room. And we talked about ways to solve the problem. And we kept going and moving through the house because, when I'm there, more often than not, I'm looking at the rest of the house, and we were walking up the steps. And I remember her telling me that she had a career prior to having children, and she was getting ready to put her youngest in school, and she was really excited. She wanted to learn code and teach it to other people. She wanted to write a book. She wanted to teach mindfulness in the classroom. And I said, that's a lot. I said, your mind sounds like your playroom.
Uh-huh.
And she kind of just stopped in her tracks. And she's like, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So, I asked more questions and found out more about what she was thinking in terms of her career. And I gave her the assignment of, as she was cleaning out the playroom and, donating costumes that didn't fit anymore and organizing the space and waiting for us to design it in a, more space efficient way, you always have to declutter. That is like step number 1. Mm-hmm. So while she was doing that and going through the closet and, making sure all the parts to the toys had a home and throwing out things that didn't belong, I said, think about your career. What can you do now? What can you do in 3 years? What can you do in 5? And as she was organizing the playroom, she was organizing her thoughts and her future goals. And we organized the playroom and we took the TV out and we made, a great built-in and a little stage for the kids for shows. And she decided she could write a book. That was in her wheelhouse. She could do that immediately. And the other things she could do, step 1, 2, 3, and let go of some things too, like teaching mindfulness in the schools.
Right.
She decided, I'll leave that for somebody else. So as she decluttered, she gained clarity in her own life.
That is amazing. I literally got like goosebumps during that story because it just like the idea of
having the process of designing your home or decluttering your home being like a process of self-care, self-development, and kind of like processing things in your internal world that might be hard to get at, but when you're physically like doing something, you can kind of get in the zone and think about it, and you have that like physical representation of what's going on internally. That is, I think, so profound and such an important strategy that really the interior design world doesn't touch on enough. It's not the advice you're given is to pick what you love or pick what you feel joy about, but there's so much more to our spaces and I think growth in our lives than just what paint color we're in love with. So I love
It
that.
is so fascinating to me. And when you talk about holistic health, another sort of way I ended up here, besides feeling kind of stuck in this area or, in this house, was I got sick, nothing terrible, but autoimmune disease, which can drive you crazy.
Yeah.
And so I really started to see, while I was coaching my clients, I was really starting to see the connection with health, your mental health, your physical health. Everything has to be in balance, not unlike our home. So the interconnection of all of this just kept becoming clearer and clearer. And I am endlessly fascinated by this.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I used to really not understand was why, sometimes we're our own worst critics.
Yeah.
We sabotage ourselves. We have damaging self-talk. And I used to get really upset when I would kind of drive into my development and I just was so frustrated and I felt bad because I should be more grateful and, why was I feeling this way? And as I embarked on writing the book, what I discovered is that there is a fairly new science called neuroaesthetics.
Okay.
And that's really the science of beauty. And we all deem things beautiful or not.
Yeah.
But when we find something beautiful, our brain lights up like a Christmas tree, and dopamine is, we feel pleasure.
Yeah.
So I was starting to learn that beauty is really in the brain of the beholder. And it wasn't entirely my fault.
Yeah.
That I was feeling frustrated.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So I love to pass this message on because this, the brain and beauty and interior design and having a holistic, healthy lifestyle all goes hand in hand.
That is so empowering and so beautiful. I think for me, I'm like selfishly feeling validated over here because like when I was in college, I would never be able to study at the library because it was so old and ugly. And it sounded ridiculous to many of my friends. They were like, what? It's just a room. I'm like, no, but it's like not pretty. It doesn't make me feel energized. I have to go study over here at this coffee shop that's cute. But to think that there's actually a real connection between taking in the aesthetics of a space and how it can make us feel and have those kind of emotional reactions, that's so exciting. And I think empowering to be like, look, if I can change my space, it can have an impact on my mental state and my mental health. That's amazing for people that maybe don't know. I think your mind can seem so conceptual, like how do I really make myself feel better? But you can paint a wall. There's physical things that you have the skills to do that really can kind of have that retroactive effect. And I guess my question with all of that is, how do you find a balance between the two, the inner state and the outer state? Do you start with your house and then influence your inner state, or do you start with, what you're struggling with internally and then kind of change your house?
The answer is really it's both.
Right.
It's one or the other. I've had people reach out to me and say like, I'm struggling with, this thought. And I've had people that I have that I'm working with in interior design, and I'll see something and I'll say, you know what, do you want to coach around this?
Yeah.
And I agree with you. It is validating. Sometimes we feel things and we don't know why. And a lot of it, and you have, a high aesthetic, you're in the design space, making space, no pun intended.
Yes.
So, it's really about energy.
Yeah.
And what I tell people to do is really question, where are you feeling dissatisfied? What, area feels heavy? And that's like a perfect place to start. And for one person, it might be their playroom. And for another, it may be a relationship that they're struggling with.
That's fascinating, because one of the things I've said on the show before is kind of trying to help people break down, seeing an image you love and how does that like translate into your actual space, because it's definitely not going and buying everything in that room and just plopping it in your house. And the thought has just come to me again and again that you don't really want that space. You want the person you think you would be if you had that space. So you want the big kitchen because you think you would cook more. You want, the big house with 5 bedrooms because you have a playroom, and then you'd be the mom that plays with her kids more. And so like how we have those concepts of, I don't know, a better self or a better version of us that can be actually physically represented by space and design elements is such a fascinating process. And I'm excited because I didn't even know the world of holistic design existed as extensively as it does. I'd heard of it here and there, and I was like, yeah, that's interesting. Like, of course we should design for the whole person. But to hear that it's really a strategy that, people are getting coaching on their internal world and their space holistically, I think that's amazing.
Yeah, and that's something I touch on with people. Like, you can manifest, think of your home as like a giant vision board.
Yeah.
Where you're trying to manifest your best life.
Yeah.
Think of it like, you're living as if. And slowly, step by step, you might find that you have manifested exactly what you've wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so cool. Like such a cool concept.
And it's also, I'm sorry, it's
you go
also
ahead.
understanding yourself. That's another big component. Like really understanding yourself and who you are authentically.
Yeah.
Because that's what you really want your home to represent, is the authentic you. It can be, the you of the future because you're trying to manifest something.
Yeah.
But it should always be you authentically.
Absolutely. I think that's kind of what people are maybe trying to get at when they say, pick what you love. It's like scratching the surface of pick what's you, and it's deeply fulfilling and deeply feels like you. It's not just the surface level of, oh, I love it.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. So, I feel like spaces have like a vibe and an energy that can be really hard to describe or explain. I think, if we look at just inspo photos to oversimplify, like if you have a dark and moody space, there's kind of a vibe and an energy there. And so much of this show is really empowering everyday women to create spaces that serve their everyday lives. So in terms of taking this feeling or this vibe we get and translating it into an actual physical space, we have to use, practical design elements. How do we tap into that vibe or feeling and translate it into our own spaces?
I think it's always going inward and asking yourself, how does this make me feel? Our homes they're living.
Yeah.
There's energy. Does it feel heavy or does it feel light? Does it light me up and delight me, or are there areas that I'm avoiding, or they could look better? Is everything in, not everything,
right,
but are things in disrepair, or is everything, repaired, fixed, in good working order? Things spark joy. Everything has meaning or is useful. In my experience, sometimes people stop seeing what's right in front of them.
Yeah.
So it's really about constantly going inward and asking yourself, is this the best it can be? Is this useful? Do I love this? And then painting a certain color that brings you joy or makes you feel good, or even taps into your childhood. In one of my chapters of my book, Home for the Home, I talk about our imprinted past and how childhood spaces inform our present spaces.
Yeah.
So, you may have a memory that brings you so much joy. How can you bring that into your home?
Oh.
Could it be in a paint color? Could it be in an inorganic table, or, whatever it is that kind of keeps you holding on to that memory that makes you feel so good. So I think it's just really about understanding yourself.
Yeah. I love that. And kind of like telling your story in a non-linear way. Like instead of telling your story like as an actual story in a book or with words, like you're telling your story through things that represent memories you have or represent, experiences you've had, and how could you collect items or create a vibe that kind of is a nod to that or represents that for you. That's such a cool idea.
Exactly. And when somebody comes into your home, ideally, they should really be able to get a sense of who you are based on what you have in your home, what you display, how you live.
Absolutely. I love that so much.
We'll get back to the conversation after a quick word from our sponsor.
Okay, time for something super exciting. So I talk to clients every day who really struggle to pick out colors for their spaces. They feel overwhelmed, like they're standing at the color wall having no idea where to even start. They find themselves Googling best colors for the dining room, being overwhelmed by choices and underwhelmed by the one that they pick. So I want to change the game in a really easy and approachable way. So I'm launching a mini course called Color Curator. This is going to help you create a personalized, perfect palette for your space. This course has all kinds of practical strategies, and it is going to change the way you think about color. You deserve to feel confident in creating beautiful spaces filled with color that light you up and support your everyday life. And I'm here to show you that it doesn't take a design degree, in-depth color theory, or hiring an interior designer to achieve that. If this sounds super exciting and it sounds exactly like something you need in your space, just hop over to DIYDreamHome.club/color. You can get all the information, you can get in on this. It's gonna be amazing. I'm so pumped to have made this course for you, and I know it is going to change spaces and transform lives, and I seriously cannot wait to see how it can help you in your space.
And now, back to the interview.
I'd love to talk a little more about your book because you kind of share like a holistic approach to interior design. It talks about, your overall well-being, including your mind and your body and your spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And you have different topics surrounding, how to design a space that truly supports your whole life. But one of the ones that kind of caught my eye is the conversation about worthiness.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of talking about like the feeling of your home is not worthy, and kind of how we set up our houses for other people and we measure it against a standard of, how things should look or maybe even trends. Can we dive into that a little bit? Like what's behind feeling like your space isn't worthy, and what would you maybe extend to someone in terms of advice that's feeling that way?
I mean, I see this, sadly, more often than you would think, that women feel, I think, deep down inside unworthy of having, good things or spending money on good things. Maybe they are spending money on their kids or elsewhere. And again, you know this better than anyone. It's not really about how much money you spend because you can DIY so many incredible things.
Oh, yeah.
It's about feeling worthy enough to think that you deserve the home of your dreams, however you come to that.
Right.
If you need to, do some DIY to get there or barter, which I have done,
Yeah.
or you can afford to go out and do that whole room the way you envision it. It's about really understanding that you do deserve the best you can afford, and you are worthy, and you are good enough. And sometimes we need to take a deep dive and go inward and discover where that root feeling came from.
Yeah.
I'm also sort of really interested, and when I coach people, what is the root of something?
Right.
So, when we're all organizing and making those, beautiful Pinterest-worthy cabinets and the color-coordinated interiors of refrigerators, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But what's going to keep that momentum? Because that's a lot of work to maintain that.
Right.
And oftentimes, if you haven't done the internal work of getting to that place where you are worthy and you deserve, whatever it is that you want, and you're, valid in your thoughts and your feelings, and you have enough self-confidence, then I think that you're able to sort of maintain whatever it is you're trying to maintain.
Right. Yeah. I really like that from my own kind of perspective. It's funny because it's like, I think I've learned this lesson the hard way, but also maybe the best way possible. And that is putting my spaces on the internet and hearing what everyone has to say about them,
Brutal.
you learn real quick that it doesn't matter because there's going to be 50% that hates it, another 50% that loves it, and you just have to do what you like. Like, you cannot do things in your space based on what others would like to see. It just it makes no sense to operate that way.
And when you have high self-esteem and feelings of worthiness, then you're comfortable in your own decisions, and you put it out there and you confidently say, this is me, take it or leave it. And you're good with it.
And you also then, I feel like, can inspire others to do the same. Because if people can see me, putting a bold space out there and letting criticism like roll off my back, it gives them permission to do the same, and kind of an example that, look, it doesn't matter what you think. Like, I'm going to do whatever I want in my house, and I'm letting you in on the process, but this is actually not for you. You can be inspired by it, but it's for me. So, yeah.
And you can also have feelings of, vulnerability. When you put yourself out there, whether you're showing a space in your home or writing a book, you're putting yourself out there in a vulnerable way. You're opening yourself up, and people will judge you.
Yes.
But I think that you show that you're okay either way, and that you're sort of walking through fear, which is huge. Like, everybody's afraid to put themselves out there, but you do it anyway.
Absolutely. So with your book, is there any chapter or conversation that's your favorite, that was just like something you were so excited to kind of put out there to the world?
I think, I love the case studies.
Yeah.
So what I talk about, I understand because I've been studying it.
Yeah.
But I do know that it can seem vague. So the case studies are really important to allow people, concrete examples. So I have come to care deeply for the people that I have now written about.
Right.
And I'm always excited when they get what I'm saying, and we can have like a double aha moment.
Yeah.
Like, you've designed a beautiful space and they've learned something, that they have had, sort of this emotional transformation.
Absolutely.
So I do like the case studies. It's hard because it's like a baby,
Yeah.
I can't
love
choose.
it all.
But I will tell you that for me, the biggest transformation I had, and I guess what became really important for me to include in the book, is my talk about limiting beliefs or mental clutter. Everybody understands clutter right now. We've been talking about it. But this topic that you and I have now been talking about worthiness and being in alignment and understanding yourself and having awareness, mental clutter, thoughts in our head, toxic relationships, we bring that energy into our homes. So I think that chapter about how to dispel some of that, or tools to rid yourself of it, or at least quiet, some of those thoughts that can be just like on a loop that doesn't leave us alone. I think that, to me, that sort of niche of mental well-being is what gets me excited now.
Yeah, I think that's so important, especially in the world we're in now, where everyone, or many people, had to stay home and really come to terms with their space and how it was functioning, but also all of the mental health challenges that come with that, of really whether got let go from your job and you're having to reconsider your whole life, whether you're working from home thinking, wait a second, do I really want this for my life? I think there was so much reconsideration of all kinds of things, from personal growth to our spaces. And so that is such an important conversation to be having now, as I think, it's not enough for things to be pretty. And in social media for a couple years there, it was enough. It was enough to just share your highlight reel and scroll around and see what everyone else was doing. And now we have kind of I don't know, I feel like a response to that, where it's like, wait, let's be more real. Let's be more authentic, and let's be more honest about what really matters, not just how things look.
I mean, everybody was touched by the pandemic, in one way or another.
Right.
And, my hope is that as we come out of it slowly,
Yeah.
and dip our toe back in
Yeah.
and step back out, that we've gained enough knowledge to know like what serves us and what doesn't.
Mm.
Social media can just wreak havoc. So, how do we tap into what's best for our spirit?
Yes.
Home might have felt super confining, but we might find ourselves back in it. We don't know.
Right.
What can we do to make sure that, we're better equipped if we find ourselves back in our home, working from home, or multitasking casting the way we did with kids at home?
Yes.
How can it function better? I mean, these are all questions that I think we need to answer if we haven't already.
Yes, absolutely. And what can it tell us about like the personal growth we have yet to do too, which is I think that was obviously a huge process for a lot of people, but especially for me, like looking around my house and being like, wait a second, like me going to buy new things is actually just me trying to cope with the work that hasn't been done. Like me thinking a new vase is going to make my day and finish this space. Like, I don't think that's the answer. I think we have to dive deeper. Like, why do I want this? Why do I think this is a solution? What is actually going on here? So I know I've been
Right.
through that process hands-on
Yeah.
for sure.
I know. I'm always like, on the computer on my, favorite websites for clothing,
Yeah.
where's that next blouse or,
Yep.
whatever, thinking, oh, it's going to change my life.
Right. It's
Knowing full well that it's not going to make a difference.
Right.
And I'm going to forget what I bought and 3 weeks later buy something else.
Yeah, because
I
it didn't
know.
do enough for me. Like I wanted to look in the mirror and be a different, more elevated person, and I'm just
Yeah, it
the
didn't
same
fill
me.
that, that space that we were trying to fill. And I think
Yes.
for me, that was the biggest lesson on this journey that I've been on for probably about 5 years or so, really finding the peace within and the happiness within, because you would think at my age that I would have learned the lesson that I'm not going to find it outside of myself. But
Yeah.
it took me a little while.
Yeah. I mean, it does. It's a hard process. But I think what's so cool is the idea that, peace isn't stagnant for a lot of people. I think they think that being content with your space or where you are means just sitting there and smiling and being happy with what's around you. But you can be content and in flow and experimenting and moving and changing while still being content. And that's, I think, so interesting too.
Yeah, always. I mean, it's fluid, like life.
Yeah.
And things are always changing. And when you have a deep sense of self, you ride the waves and you understand it and you get yourself back to sort of equilibrium quicker than you might have if you didn't do a deep dive and really do some personal growth work.
Absolutely.
And then understand how our living environment affects us, the same way our spiritual life, our emotional life affects us.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there any element of like the holistic design conversation that I forgot to touch on, or any piece of the book that you think we should cover just kind of as a wrap up?
I mean, I think, the only thing that I really would impart that is like a thread throughout the book is energy. Everything is energy. The thoughts in our head are energy. The way our home is set up is the flow good. That's all energy. Our thoughts around money, that's energy.
Yeah.
So, everything is energy, and we need to always make sure that the energy is sort of balanced, having that yin yang, balancing the light and the dark. And once we understand that we're going to have, like we just touched on, peaks and valleys, we can really sort of always find ourselves maneuvering in a place that keeps us holistically healthy.
Yeah, I like that so much. For someone that, I guess for many of us that have been raised in a very linear world that values logic and reason, the feeling of energy and how we can tap into that might be kind of new for a lot of people. So are there any like tips or strategies for where to start? Like, should you physically walk through your space and just kind of tune into how you're feeling? Should you, make a list of things? Like, what's a good way to kind of get started if you're feeling overwhelmed by your home? You want to use kind of these holistic principles, but you don't even know where to begin.
Well, here's an exercise that everybody can do right now.
Yeah.
It's my favorite exercise. I call it seeing with new eyes.
Okay.
And if you normally come into your house through your side door, go in your front door as if you're a guest in your own home.
Yeah.
And really just put your personal feelings aside and try to look at your space through a guest's eyes. As you walk up to your door, is the curb appeal nice? Is your door clean and there's nothing obstructing it? When you walk in, you open the front door. Is it light filled? Is it welcoming? Don't look at it with your emotions. Like, try to take emotion out of it and walk from room to room. Carry a notepad with you. What do you see? How does it make you feel? What do you like? Just keep asking yourself, how does this make me feel? And even if you're not really like attached to that part of you, I think if you start asking yourself these concrete questions when you're standing in your living room and you might see like cobwebs in a corner and you say, how does this make me feel? You can probably answer it.
Yeah.
And move from room to room. What are the things you're looking at? Do they make you happy? Do they make you feel heavy? Are they like obligatory things that have been sitting there forever?
Yeah.
So I'm constantly talking about that feeling state. So just literally walk from room to room, taking notes. What do I see? What are the colors? Are the windows clean? Is everything in order? Does my kitchen smell? Is the bathroom, tidy? And, just keep asking questions, whatever comes up, and writing down answers as you move from room to room. I think you'll be surprised when you're done the exercise, some of the things that you see that you just realized you had stopped seeing.
Yeah. I know that's so easy too. When you're in your space every day, things become familiar and you just stop noticing them. So to really go back through and see things intentionally.
Touch things, pick them up, move them around. That's a great way to change energy too, even if you're not ready to do a deep dive. If you're in that space, move books around on a shelf, move tchotchkes around on a table, pull some pillows away or, add some. And it's just notice, if you notice a shift in energy, because it's powerful.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If you're open to it, you'll feel it for sure.
And chances are once you feel something, you sort of become your own investigator and you'll do more to feel that again. Does this feel good? It does. I want to feel more of that. And you start to baby step your way to making more changes.
Yeah, that's such good advice. I'm so excited for people to try that in their own spaces and kind of see where it leads them. That's exciting.
That's why it's my favorite exercise, because you can really do it now.
Right.
And there's immediate gratification because I think you really feel it now.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for this conversation. I feel like this is just going to help people up-level the way in which they're thinking about their spaces and kind of approaching design, whether it's DIY or considering hiring someone. This conversation is amazing.
Thank you, Cara.
I
enjoyed it.
Just so everyone, obviously I'll link your book in the show notes so everyone can go check that out, because I feel like that's going to be the perfect next step. If this episode resonated for you, that's where to go. But where can everyone find you online? Is there a good social media platform to connect with you, or a blog?
Yes, I do have a blog, Carrie's Design Musings. But I would say if you went to Carrie Leskowitz Interiors, then from there you could get to all my other socials.
Okay.
And there's links to buy the book on my author's page. And I'm pretty busy on Instagram at Carrie Leskowitz.
Well, perfect. I hope everyone will connect with you and reach out to tell you, what they thought of the episode or what resonated, because that's always fun to get that feedback.
I'd love to hear.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm so honored to have you on the show and so excited that this conversation will inspire the listeners. So thank you again.
Thank you.
#obsessed.
So what I am obsessed with this week is actually not an item that you can go buy, but it is kind of a strategy that I've been using to declutter my spaces, and that is what I call my box rule. So when I buy something off Amazon and it comes in a box, I used to break it down and recycle it, but then I had kind of a box pileup situation happening at my house. So I thought of a new approach, and that is when something arrives in a box, I have to put something in the box and take it to Goodwill. So I have to donate a piece of clutter from my space. This is super helpful because Goodwill recycles the boxes. So by giving the box back to them along with the donation means that I not only get rid of a piece of clutter, but I'm eliminating the cardboard pileup that was happening at my house. Now, this might be a me problem. You might not have as many boxes as I have around here, because I truly order everything online. Like my groceries get delivered, like everything around here. But I thought this is a really good approach because it's just kind of a way to free up space, to be sustainable, make sure things are getting recycled properly, and to kind of clear out that clutter one piece at a time. I have a Goodwill really close to me. It's on the way to everything. When I'm running errands, it's kind of just on the way. So it's been a really easy adjustment in my life, but something that's made a huge impact. So it's simple. It might feel silly, but I just wanted to share it with you because I think it can make a big difference. Psst, if you're still here, that means we need to be friends. Hop over to Instagram and follow me at Never Skip Brunch if you want DIY projects and more design inspo. Or if you want to get connected for podcast-specific updates, hop over to Make Space Pod and you can stay in the loop for when new episodes drop. See you on Instagram.
I'm on my way back home.
Thanks for listening. If this is your first time listening in, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay in the loop with the newest episodes. If you're a subscriber and you love the show, be sure to rate, review, or screenshot and share your favorite episode on social.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.